Well, welcome back to the Friday, October 8th edition. Friday, October 8th. The year is quickly running by us. Friday, October 8th edition of our podcast as we prepare for Sunday. The word this Sunday is repentance. And we have been fleshing out for the last couple of days and want to finish up the conversation today about this biblical understanding of repentance, how it relates to us. And today I think our focus is on the necessity of recognizing that repentance doesn't typically occur as an isolated event that we are able to conjure up within ourselves. It is a much deeper, it is a much more communal work than just an isolated individual.
Well, it's the idea that you can do it yourself is almost sacred in American culture. The idea that you should do it yourself. Rugged independence, and that just doesn't work. It's one of our prevailing myths that there are self-made people out there, and nobody gets where they are without help. But yet we still have this idea that I can do it all on my own, and I should do it all on my own. And it's kind of the depending which generation you're a part of. It's the John Wayne mentality. It's the Rambo mentality. All the heroes we grew up with were those kind of action heroes who didn't need anybody else and could take on the world. But that's just not true, because we're not meant to be alone. Even from the beginning in the book of Genesis, God looks at the human creation, looks at Adam and says it's not good that he should be alone.
James Clear is a book I've read in the last year that really talks about change and the healthy habits. How do we find ourselves? And he really talks about how our culture has been written around self-help books. Our culture has been, read this book and change.
Self-help is interesting just by itself, right?
And how much we have depended upon that idea that I can do it. I can change myself.
And it's predicated on, if I just have the right information, then I can do it. And our modern culture doesn't help that any. Because you can find just about anything on a YouTube video. Those are fun, I guess, but that idea that I can help myself, and all I need is access to the right information, and then I will make better decisions. Now, I'm not a huge Dr. Phil fan, I have to say. He kind of gets on my nerves the few times I've watched his show, but I will say there is one phrase he uses that does work, and that is, how's that working out for you?
Yeah, how's that going for you?
Yeah, and how is all of our information going for us these days? How is our ability to access all of the knowledge of human history with a click of a button? How's that going for us?
Well, I think we beat ourselves up. We're trying to lose weight. We beat ourselves up. Can't lose those 5, can't lose those 10, 15 pounds, whatever it is that we feel like we need to do. And we wallow in that despair of, I'm just not a very good person. I am just not very strong. I'm not very self-disciplined. I can't find myself doing that. And I think we're missing the mark when we look at it that way and from that standpoint. It is always about our relationship with God and the community around us.
Community is absolutely key to that. And if you're in this place where you've hit rock bottom, you have to have community. One of the genius part of AA, of Al-Anon, is that it brings people into community and accountability. It puts people directly into relationship. The model that Jesus sets for his community is exactly that. He calls a group of followers. He doesn't just come to James and John and says, okay, you go over here and you go over there and I'll come by and visit you. No, he deliberately puts people together who weren't always all alike, by the way. He throws a tax collector into the midst along with a couple of radical revolutionaries, right?
Yeah.
And says, you're brothers now. And they have to go, I hate that dude. But it's about community. And I think about meaningful change, I would say, is almost never realized by an individual on their own. It comes with help.
So in this parable that we're looking at, this young man, we talked about it yesterday, he comes to himself, he comes to his right mind, and he says, I can go home where there's going to be resources and people will be there with me and help me.
Yeah.
My father has this community of people who thrive.
Yeah.
Thrive under that
His
authority.
household,
Thrive
right?
under his household.
That's
thrive is whether they're slaves, whether they're
treated well.
children, family. Everybody is in that process together. And I think that's often where I feel like the church, we have to recognize that we are home.
Well, and so I got a bit of trivia for you.
All right.
So let's see if you can do. Where does the phrase "you can't go home again" come from?
Thomas, what's his name? Thomas Wolfe.
Yeah, you lived close enough to Asheville for a while. You've got to know this, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And his that's Thomas Wolfe, Asheville, North Carolina native, wrote that, I believe, in the Look Homeward Angel. And the phrase "you can't go home again" is it's pretty much the only thing he's known for now, but it's not true. It's a lie.
Right.
It's a myth. It's in a book written by someone born in 1900. It's not true. You can go home again. And if you're at rock bottom, if you're at this place in your life where you're just hurting and you're desperate, it's so important to know you can always go home. And not only can you go home, but you're encouraged and welcomed home. I can't say that strongly enough, because we all need to be in relationship with God and each other. We've talked a little bit about the last 2 years, almost. We're coming up on 2 years dealing with this whole COVID-19 mess. We're dealing with political disruption. We're dealing with turmoil. We're dealing with, you guys, you know what I'm talking about. And it would be very difficult for me to make it without friends like Paul, without having connections and relationships with fellow clergy. And we're fortunate enough to have several friends in common. And I want you all to know we lean on each other. We need each other. And we talk beyond this on a regular basis, because we each recognize that we can't do it on our own. And we're fortunate enough to have other friends who are part of this journey with us.
And one of the things that I recognize about this church or churches in the community, there was an example not long ago. An individual started attending church here, had lost a spouse, showed up at this church for the first time, walked in, happened to recognize this as a first-time visitor. This person's just whole persona was just down, defeated. In every way. It was so aware, just looking at their body language and everything. This person had hit that rock bottom, but had discovered and rediscovered the fact that maybe God is somehow associated with that place called church. They made their way in, and to watch this person grow and flourish over the last couple of years, having been in that absolute place of despair, now being embraced by a community, being loved, and life for this person really has taken on a whole different look. That gives me hope that the work that you and I do, Steve, that we try to both model and work together, it really is the work of God, but it is done in community. And my encouragement to you this day and every day is don't stay out isolated. Don't be the Lone Ranger.
You don't have to stay in the pig pen.
No.
You don't have to keep
the pig
slopping
pen
the
is
hogs.
not a good place.
There are options. And I think that is where I see so many people, that you get to the point where you think there are no options. Well, there are options. There are.
And it often does begin. Steve mentioned David yesterday in Psalm 51. A good place to begin is with a moment of confession. That, Lord, I've screwed this thing up 9 ways to Sunday, and I cannot do this anymore. That moment of recognition is a really good beginning point, but don't let it stop there. Don't wallow in that. God, what are the steps that I can positively make? And I really do believe one of those positive steps we do make is to align ourselves with people who really care about and want what's good for us.
Well, and in this, the change, the change of heart, the change of mind, and the new direction, it comes out of humility. And humility is we struggle with humility. It's not something we necessarily value.
This boy did have to swallow some pride, didn't he?
Yes.
He
was humbled, and he had to accept the humility to say, man, I've messed this up. There are a lot of phrases I could use right there, but
yeah, this is not going well.
Yeah, this has not. Yeah, how's it going for you,
Yeah.
Dr. Phil? It's not going well. My decisions have led me to this place, and unless I can acknowledge that I have made a mistake, which he did, I've messed this up, and I can go home.
And the community of faith is that place I think God uses. We don't stand in arrogance in the church. We stand in humility and saying, yeah, we're just simply other sinners who have found that God is at work.
Yeah, who are doing our best
work.
to collectively follow Christ and be a part of His kingdom.
Yeah, and change is impossible except when repentance is a part of it, and that means a total shifting in our orientation, our mindset, our spirit, our being, mm-hmm. and that work is only sustained in the life of the faith community. I'm so grateful that you've given us this time, and I hope at least maybe our conversations are sparking something in you that you might be willing to further engage.
And if you know someone who's in a place where they're at rock bottom, and if you think this would help, maybe send them the link to this. It may be what somebody needs. That's what we're trying to do, is simply help people share the good news of Jesus Christ, the one who makes it so that we can go home again.
Yeah.
So take that, Thomas Wolfe.
So one of my favorite stories is the man who keeps walking down the same street all the time, and he ends up finding himself in the same hole day after day after day. Finally, he comes to the recognition, if I keep walking down that same road, I'm going to fall in that same street. And the work that he finally gets to is if I keep doing the same thing, I'm going to get the same result. But if I go a different path, that hole is not going to be there. That's where we're hoping that you'll get to, that you don't have to keep doing the same things, getting the same results, the same despair. There's a better way. We're hoping that you hear this invitation to join with us in a different way.
Absolutely. So invite you to be in services on Sunday morning, 8:15, 9:15, what we do? 8:15, 10:15, 11:15 at Denver, and online we have live stream for the 8:15 and 11:15 services.
And for us, 8:30 is still inside, but 10:30 is outside. Out back has become our tradition. Rod Arters is going to be bringing the message this week on repentance. I really appreciate Rod. Has a unique perspective and a real wonderful ability to bring that to life. I look forward to you hearing that message from Rod this coming Sunday. We look forward to seeing you, and
thank you.
See you, buddy. Thanks.